Hey guys, what's going on? This is Brad with Techbuds-Solutions. If you're not familiar with who I am, I'm part of Techbuds-Solutions, where Ricky is our group leader. He talks about regular trading on like your big board markets and stuff. Finds potential between 5 to 15%, and capitalizes on that using technical analysis and that sort of thing. What I do is I primarily talk about the OTC world, or OTC stocks, and it's something that I specialize in. We also have a group within our Discord chat group that specifically trades and discusses the OTC. So, welcome aboard tonight. We have a regular Monday night session. I want to talk about a whole slew of things. And guys, I just have to tell you how like grateful I am and how just taken aback I am about all of the support you guys gave to me throughout the whole, YouTube change thing where I needed 4,000 hours. You guys like blew my channel up. I had record view times. I don't want to know how you did it. I don't care. I cannot believe the turnout and the way you guys showed up was just awesome. And I actually had quite a few people asking me about how to donate to my channel. I still haven't quite figured that out. So I mean, if you all can, um, what happened? Am I still here? Yeah, okay. I don't know. Something went wrong with my YouTube. Anyway, um, so I just wanted again to say thank you. And somebody approached me about donating to my channel. I would be more than honored for you to donate to my channel. And I think there's an option to do that. So I don't know if there's somewhere on here. This whole live thing's still new to me, so just bear with me as I go through these growing pains. So if you would like to donate to my channel, feel free. You're not obligated to in any way, but I would be more than happy to take your free money. Um, Obviously, this whole service, everything we do here with Techbuds-Solutions is free. And I am just this is just something that I love to do. And obviously, I've expressed to you guys that this is something that I want to end up doing full time, not just with YouTube, but helping you guys trade and day trading throughout the day as well. I want to have my hands in quite a few things. That's kind of like what TechBuds is, right? We're not just trading; we're a little bit of everything when it comes to just entrepreneurial stuff. We buy things, we sell things. It's just I just love our group and I love what I do and I love doing it all with Ricky as you guys do. So anyway, enough of me rambling. I just wanted to give a short thank you, which turned into a really long thank you. um, let's get into stocks tonight, right? Okay, so we have a group member within our Discord chat group and within Techbuds-Solutions who, as the title said, he's made over $8,000 on a single trade. We know him in the group as Bassmaster Films. His actual name is Sergey Bass, and he lives in Alaska, and he is a veteran. So if you guys see him, he did some tours in Afghanistan. Gave me like a really long, um, you know, uh, I guess description of himself and his background and stuff. And I'm not going to share everything because there's a lot that's pretty serious stuff. And I know that he was okay with me sharing it. But man, if you guys see him, just thank him for his service. He's a really great guy. Once you get to know him, we know him as a pretty intense fella. But obviously the intensity paid off here with his trade that he made with the ticker symbol, and we'll call it SRMX. Guys, I called out SRMX about, I don't know, early November, I think it was. I did play that, and I got out early, and I got out way too early, apparently. So I actually got into the stock, and we'll go into right now. So I'm gonna share my screen with you. So bear with me one sec, because I want to show you where he got in, where I got in at, where I got out of, and how Sergey, or we'll just call him Bassmaster Films, got into this as I called it out. And he got into it, and I think it was early November. So I want to say it was like 030 that I got into it. And when I got into it, he went and did his own due diligence. You know, if you're familiar with this channel or if you're new to it, I suggest that you go back and find some videos on how we do our own due diligence within the OTC market. So anyway, he did his own due diligence. Found resources on Twitter, found resources on Investors Hub, and saw the great potential that was this particular company. And so he got in it at 0.030 ish, and then it really started to come down. Here later in the year, it came down to into the triple zeros. I mean, I think it came down as low as 0.005. I want to say. I think this is where I've been preaching to you guys and preaching to you guys about having the patience, having the due diligence to, or having the wherewithal, or as we all like to call it, stones, to weather a storm out. When you have a stock that you believe in and that you've done the work and that this is going to pan out for you. And one thing that we always like to preach in Techbuds-Solutions across the board is to have a plan, right? So Sergey had a plan, and he, averaged down on this. So when he was at, in the zero and the 0.003s, and this went down to triple zeros, he doubled down on this and actually added to his position down in 0.005s, and reduced his average in half pretty much. His average ended up being, I think he said it was 0.018 or something like that, and he had well over 1 million shares of this. Hasn't sold since, and then look what it did within recent weeks. Within the last 2 weeks, it's really the last 3 weeks. Really, it's really started to pick up volume. Really started to pick up attention, and then they had a merger. They merged with a 25 or $225 billion company, and this is why it's getting all the attention it's getting now. And today, it didn't even reach. It didn't even close at its high today. It closed at 1.5 cents. So really, at the peak of the trading day today, Sergey was looking at $13,000-14,000 in profit at one point, and he has reason to believe. And honestly, if I was still in this, I would have reason to believe that this isn't done yet. When you merge with a company of that size, there is just way more momentum to come with something like this. And so that is the basis of what is the OTC, right? So when we get into something and we see a stock drop, and a good example of that is one we're in right now, right? I've had a lot of people come up to me like, hey, why is GRDO going down? It's dropped 50% since, in 2 weeks or whatever, since its highs. And so what I like to tell you guys is, when you're getting into something like that, just because you see it surge up and it gets some sudden volume doesn't mean it's always going to stay there. And you have to figure out what your plan is. So if you're just starting out and you're like, I'm just going to take little wins at a time until I build up enough to where I feel comfortable with these bigger wins. Or, I'm just going to be patient. I'm going to wait this out because I see the potential here, and I'm going to wait to see what happens. Because, oftentimes, and I'll give you an example. I'm in a stock right now that I'm down 70%, and I'm not sweating it, because when you get the volume, when news breaks on something that you have a really strong feeling news is going to break out on, there's a company that you believe in. Let me adjust this here a little bit. All right. There's a company that you believe in after all the homework that you've done on it. I have a plan. I have a plan that I'm not getting out of this until I see the news break. And if the news breaks and then nothing really happens with it, then I'm going to have to cut my losses at that point. But the thing is that I haven't seen enough of that particular stock that I'm in. And I'll just share with you. It's ASCK. I got an ASCK at 0.001. I think closed today at 0.004, 0.003, or 0.003. And so that's just one that we're all in right now, or not we're all in. A lot of us are in right now, and we're just waiting. Take the opportunity to average down and increase your potential profit. And that's how you manage risk. That's how you see success in the OTC, is to be able to have the patience and take advantage of those impatient people. When those impatient people are selling, that's what's happened with GRDO. Not enough is happening with it right now since the news was released. The latest news was released. There hasn't been much action because the company hasn't said much since then. So people get bored. When people get bored, they leave. And when they leave, it gives you the opportunity to capitalize on what they're selling you. And if you got in high, average down, get down a lower price, because if it's something that you believe in, you know that it's going to come back up. So average down on that, and that's what Sergey did. I mean, look how it worked out for him. He's probably I mean, SRMX, it could run to Silverland, and what we mean by that is like a nickel or more. And if it does that, and he doesn't sell a dime, I mean, good lord, he could have a real chunk of change. He's starting his 2018 off right. So I just kind of wanted to give you guys that reassurance that, if you're struggling through the OTC, if you're having a hard time getting started, if you're just seeing nothing but red all the time, or, you just don't know what to do with it, or if you're growing impatient, the only thing I can tell you is that impatience is going to kill you down here. And if you, unless you really know what you're doing when it comes to like flipping OTCs, and that's your game, that's what you're good at, fine. But if you are, playing this game the way that I have found success, patience is everything. It's everything. And even if uh, uh, your strategy is to flip these stocks, in a day, um, there's going to come a time where it's going to run, and you're not going to be able to get into it. And that's why I don't flip OTCs. It's easier to do that sort of strategy on with Ricky and the type of traders that trade with his trading style, um, because the run ups aren't as volatile as they are down here. So that's why I choose not to flip stocks like that. Plus, when you're in something that small, it kills the momentum. A lot of people don't think it doesn't, but it does. Believe me, it does. So that's just a little snippet of flipping versus just the swing style that I do when it comes to trading OTCs. A lot of people think I'm crazy for holding overnight, but they just don't know. They just don't understand, and that's what my whole mission is with this whole channel, is to kind of break that mold, so to speak, break the stigma of like, oh, OTCs are just, they'll do nothing but take your money, or you're crazy for holding overnight. We hold into some of this stuff for 6 to 8 weeks at a time, but if in 2 months you can gain $13,000, $14,000, I'd say you're doing all right. He had a $2,000 total buy-in after he averaged in, and he's just coming out on top in 2 months. I think that speaks for itself. So great job, Sergey. I hope you're watching. If you're not, I hope you watch this once we sign off. Um, and I couldn't be more prouder of you, especially because there's a lot of us giving you a hard time within the chat because you were just kind of like on your bullhorn with this, and we're just kind of like, okay, we hear you. But good for you for sticking to your guns and really showing us all how it's done. So with that, I just kind of wanted to open everything else up to some Q&A. If you guys have some questions about any tickers that we can maybe go over, or just OTCs in general, if there's terms that you're not familiar with, um, I'm all ears. So let's go with it. So somebody said, what was it? He he had super stones. Yeah, Sergey had some super stones. That's for sure. Um, okay. Did anybody figure out the donation thing? I don't know if it works or not, but just give it a shot. If I don't care if it's a dollar, but I just want to see if it works. Um, okay. Tim says, I've never traded OTC. Do you all use TOS to chart? TOS is Thinkorswim. I know some people do. I don't. I use Trade Architect, which is through TD Ameritrade. Tim, if you go back into the beginning of this video, once I'm done, you can go look to see the type of charting that I use, which is Trade Architect, and I find it more useful in my opinion. But some people find TOS simpler to use. It just all depends on your preference. Um, what's your thoughts on SRMX? I think I pretty much went over that. I am not a closet Steelers fan as an avid Ravens fan. How dare you, by the way. John Adams, he's a Steelers fan, always gives me a hard time. But that's what Ravens and Steelers fans do. Do you believe the market maker signals such as 911 shares? I've heard of that term. I've heard of people talking about that, but it's not something that I'm familiar with. So I don't know. I'll have to do some research on it, and I'll get back with you. I know who you are within our group, and I will certainly look into that for you. How important is scanning versus networking to find in finding good OTC stocks, and what parameters are most important to you when using your scanner? So, Aaron, great question. It's a really long one, so let's break it down and talk about the first one. So, scanning versus networking and finding good OTC stocks. Both. You Equity feed is your best friend when it comes to trading OTCs. I highly suggest that you use equity feed when scanning for stocks. Uh, there's other scanners out there that will help you along the way because equity feed is expensive to start out with. They do give you like a 14-day free trial, but I promise you, after that 14 days, you're going to want to spend the money. And that's not because they sponsor me. It's not because they pay me to tell you that. It's just the truth. Now, when it comes to networking, that is everything as well. Networking is huge. I have a huge network of people that will throw something my way, and if I do the due diligence and I see the value in it, I'll get in it. That's how I get into the stuff a lot of times. A lot of times I'll get it, somebody will shoot me a text or shoot me a tweet or a direct message or whatever and say, hey, this hasn't blown up yet, but I saw some sudden volume. Something might be going on here, and you start to connect the dots. You see that maybe there's some news pending on this. That's kind of why I got into ASCK. Maybe I got into it a little prematurely, but there's some news coming on that one. I think that's going to really send that one. I'm invested pretty heavily in that, so hopefully it works out. Now, as far as parameters for your scanner, I have a really good, and I'll share the link within my description. But what I use with an equity feed is exactly the same kind of setup that Tony Ivanov uses. If you're familiar with Tony Ivanov, he's kind of an up and coming YouTuber who also trades. He doesn't just trade OTCs, but he's pretty um, knowledgeable within the OTC world, and he has an excellent equity feed video that I'm not sure I can top. So I always, when people ask me about how to use equity feed, how to set up your scanner, I always try to direct them towards Tony because he does an excellent job at it. So I'm gonna encourage you to look up Tony Ivanov. So it's Inavov. You can find him on YouTube, and he's got a really great equity feed video. Okay. Do you recommend finding a mentor for OTC? You know, it depends. I have one. It's no secret that I've shared him and his success and his information on my previous videos, but I don't necessarily recommend it. I think it's something that you can do on your own within, and honestly, I think that's what we have here within Techbuds-Solutions. I don't know everything there is to know about trading in and out, and I don't think anybody does. But what I like to do is kind of like expose people to this awesome market because I've been able to find success with it, and I want us to be able to find success together. There's others within our chat group that find better trades than I do. I mean, for example, Sergey, stuck it out with SRMX, and I was the impatient one. And I think that's how we all learn from each other, and I think that we're going to continue to grow. I think it's really going to be something special. So, do I recommend a mentor? Not necessarily, but it doesn't hurt to have, obviously. Um, Okay. Oh, here I'll put it in the chat group. Tony Ivanov. There you go. Yeah, Ivanov. There you go. Tony Ivanov. So yeah, he's a great resource too. He hung out in the Discord chat group for a while, and I think he broke off on his own, which is fine. I mean, good for him. But I always respect that kid. I think does what he does is really good. What's my outlook on GRDO? My outlook on GRDO, I still think it's good. They sent money, they paid for and sent over filings for the Nevada Secretary of State filings. Um, and they did that in order to get current. And what that means is that they haven't been current on their SEC filings. So they have, if you go into OTC markets and look them up, they have what's called a stop sign next to their logo, and that means that they are not current. We've gone over the caveat emptors, which is skull and crossbones. There's a stop sign and a yield sign. So once the Nevada Secretary of State releases or updates GRDO, they most likely will get what's called a yield sign. And then once they start to get more current with their filings, that yield sign will come off and they will just be simply an OTC pink. So that's how that works. But honestly, I think this is only the beginning for GRDO. I think once the filings go through, that it'll get a lot more attention, a lot more volume will come through, and people will see the potential in that. The other thing is that it's looking like it's pretty heavily dependent on the crypto market. So it's also going to we're also going to see how it is. I mean, Bitcoin's obviously been kind of bouncing back here after the big dip it took. So we'll see. Uh, what do you think of VTNL? So VTNL, that's Vet Online company that I've mentioned before, that we talk about a lot within our Discord chat group. VTNL, it's one of those that's been diluted here for a while, but I still think that going into the first quarter, I'm going to give that one till the first quarter. I'm going to sit into it and see what happens with it. They released the email. One of my friends got an email saying that from VTNL, saying that they are in the process of um, shipping out their product to various vendors. One of them, I believe, is PetSmart. So if that happens and that goes through and they start to see revenue, revenue is a huge thing for OTCs, even if it's a little bit. And so, and it's not just the product, but the type of product they're doing. Um, they have cannabis products. That's a CBD oil that they have in a lot of their products for pets. And as we all know, pets are $1 billion industry. We all like to take care of our pets. So I think that's going to be something huge, and I'm just going to wait that one out. Um, Jake says, I see a lot of OTC and companies in general filing as a business in Nevada. Must have low corporate tax. Yeah, that's what that means. A lot of people do that because I think it's the lowest. Um, Somebody can correct me on that, but I'm pretty sure that's the main reason. Can you talk about some of the market makers that are dilutive or short market makers and explain how to identify when they are doing it? Yeah, so let's go ahead and take a look at that. So one that I know that is diluting right now, let me go ahead and share my screen again. Bear with me one sec. Okay. All right, so let's go and look at VTNL since I mentioned they were being diluted. Okay, so I don't know why Trade Architect does this, but this chart obviously isn't working right now. But let me see if I can pull up the level 2 here. It's not going to show it. I wish it did. I wish I had some screenshots for you, but let me go ahead and come back here. So usually in your level 2, if you're on Trade Architect, you'll see the market makers here. And so the market makers you want to look for that are dilutive. The one big one is VNDM. Each market maker has their own like tag, if you will, or they're not ticker symbols, but they kind of look like them. And VNDM is a very popular one. I believe CDEL is also one. So if you see either one of those market makers on your level 2, that means that the stock is being diluted. Another one is ASCK. I wonder if ASCK will work. It probably won't because it probably doesn't show it after market. We're too late in the market right now. So, if you're looking in this level 2 here, you see VNDM or CDEL, there's a very good chance that it's being diluted. And they're known as dilutive market makers. The other one is for shorting. A lot of you'll see is ASCM, and so ASCM is a shorting market maker. A lot of times, if you see a stock running into the thousands of percent or even a few 100%, you'll see ASCM show up. We've had our run-ins with ASCM, especially with FVRD and SVTE, I believe it was, or STVE, and wasn't fun. Lots of times when you see ASCM, it actually scares a lot of people out of it, and it scared even some of the most tenured traders out of a stock, and that's the intent. They're going to short it, and when they show up, people get out of it. The trick is to try and see if they're bluffing. I still haven't quite figured that trick out. Sometimes they still end up tricking you, but again, it all comes down to just sticking with the plan. Um, okay, ready. Um, Thinkorswim has on demand to rewind the day to show also practiced. Yeah, maybe I'll have to look into that. So Thinkorswim apparently has an on demand to rewind the day and show real time trading. So yeah, I'll have to look into that. It's just something that I actually haven't really needed to look into for a bit. So I'll take a look at it. All right, guys, this is good stuff. I'm really glad you guys showed up to ask all these. These are asking great questions. Um, so it looks like we're slowing down here. Um, so uh, somebody asked, how did you make the money in a single trade? So Sergey made that money. So all he did, he bought into that particular stock. He hasn't sold it. He hasn't day traded it. He just bought into it. And so he has kind of been sticking it out, and we're going to see where we go from here. I honestly see this being easily a 5-figure win for him, and I couldn't be more happier for him. So anyway, guys, that's all I got for you tonight. I hope that you learned something. I hope you got something out of this video tonight. I really like this Monday night thing. I'm going to stick with it. Tonight was a little bit later, only because work sucked. It's another reason why I'm I'm trying to get out of the regular 9 to 5. Um, so with that, guys, I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for really stepping up to the plate and getting me current with YouTube. And I will see you all tomorrow on Discord. If you're new to this channel, if you're new to me, I will go ahead and post a link up here um, to as how to get into our Discord chat group. A lot of people, even though they are familiar with TechBuds and have been in the TechBuds Facebook group, still aren't quite sure how to get into our Discord chat group. It's really easy, and I'll go ahead and show that to you once I come off live. So with that, guys, thank you so much for watching. I will see you all tomorrow, and B Smith is out.